This is the point. Here's the thing. What good is it to lower the wages of workers when rent is going up? Because guess what, chicken butt? If we cannot afford our rent, what makes you think we'll be able to afford your small business? We won't be able to afford to go to your business. And in fact, if we can't afford to go to your small business, then guess what? Your business is going to close. That's exactly what's going to happen. And then guess who ends up working at Walmart? You. Yes, you, Mr. Business Owner. Because people, their wages are crap. And so then guess what? You lose your business, Walmart grows, and then you're stuck there working with me while getting EBT cards and SNAP benefits. Because you and I both don't get a living wage because your business closed and people who live around you do not have enough money to buy from your small business. Why? Because ultimately this is a boom for who? The big money interests. This is a boom for who? The capitalists. This is a big boom for the corporations. Did you know that some cities in Florida have minimum wage laws as well? In Orlando, Florida, they have it by law that you have to follow the minimum wage law of the state. And so as of right now, as of September of last year, it has went up to $12 an hour. I know, sad, still $12 an hour. It's not as high as it should be, but we'll get into that. But in Tallahassee, that may change, giving corporations the ability to possibly undercut workers. So let's take a look. So I want to share with you guys this article, and shout out to Roger Meadows for sharing this with me, because if it weren't for him, this would have actually went underneath my nose. But thank you so very much for sharing this with me. This is out of Orlando Weekly. It says Florida Republicans cut public comment on bills that could affect wages of thousands of workers. The subheading says the proposal would in part erase local living wage laws in cities like Orlando, Tampa, and Miami. So let's get into it. It says the Republican chair of the Florida House Subcommittee decided on a whim to eliminate public testimony entirely on a bill that could affect the wages of thousands of workers across Florida. Florida Representative Tyler Cioris, chair of the House Regulatory Reform and Economic Development Subcommittee, said there was no time for legislators to hear comments from the public, surprising dozens of people who had signed up to speak on House Bill 433. If it's been a while since your high school civics class, a bit from Congress.gov, explainer of the American legislative process, how our laws are made, are worth revisiting. So this is what it says. It's perhaps the most important phase of the legislative process is the action by committees. The committees provide the most intensive consideration to a proposed measure, as well as the forum where the public is given their opportunity to be heard. So this is important because a lot of times, you know, when you have cities, whether they be municipalities like cities or counties, they will have time for public comment. States also, legislators will also have time for public comment. So you can come in and state, you know, what you want and what you don't want and your views on potential laws that could be passed or ordinances that can be passed within the jurisdiction of that power, whether it be state or local, right? But this dipshit decided to make it so that no public comment can't be done. We don't want to hear from you, right? And make no mistake that, you know, while I do particularly go after both parties because both parties are in cahoots with each other, in my opinion, this falls on the Republicans in the state. This falls on the GOP because it is the GOP that really wants something like this to pass. And it was a GOP member that actually halted comments for this proposed measure. Now, let's continue in this article. It says there's nothing about it. There's nothing in there about except when you don't feel like it. The bill, sponsored by Republican Representative Tiffany Esposito, would in part eliminate local living wage laws covering thousands of contracted workers in some of Florida's largest cities. By the way, just letting you guys know, when it comes to people, not just workers, but also immigrants, your mama, your daddy, your aunties, your uncles, everybody, right? So maybe even some of you that work for Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Grubhub, possibly. Could this affect you? Because this isn't limited to small businesses. Oh no, baby, this is big corporations that are also going to be affected by this. And so if you're a contract worker, oh, this can definitely hurt you. Make no mistake. Let's continue. It says it will also prevent local governments from requiring employers to do things like provide water, shade, or other cooling measures for workers laboring outside. I want to read this again. Providing water, shade, or other cooling measures for workers laboring outside. God damn it, we are in Florida. Florida is the dick of the United States. Basically, I know y'all didn't look at it that way. I see it that way. Look, see, just share what my mind is at. But anyway, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, so look, here's the thing, right? Where that area is, that's where one of the hottest parts of your body. Well, guess where one of the hardest parts of the United States is? Right here. We are in the crotch of the U.S. So it is hot here, right? Let's be real. And with that being said, it behooves anybody who is an employer to make sure that if your worker is working outside, and this also goes in accordance to people who work in the water parks, as well as the theme parks, that their workers are constantly hydrated and constantly cooled because it is hot. Look. I can't. Look. I remember that part in Indiana Jones where the dude's face kind of melted off. I think it was when the Ark of the Covenant was open. I think in that one. I forget which one. Whatever. But his face was melting off. Take a plane here. Go ahead. As soon as you get off that jetway, as soon as you do, the heat, the humidity, it will hit you in your goddamn face. And when it does, you will realize, you'll be like, well, it does exist. So I'm just letting you know that's how hot it is in here in Florida. And they don't want to provide water or ways to cool workers? These are some evil ass people. Let's continue. It says, in its broadest stroke, the bill would prohibit communities from establishing any kind of law affecting the terms and conditions of employment. Presumably, that would include things like work hours, job benefits, and paid leave. But Esposito declined to expand on her understanding of what that would encompass when questioned, because she don't know, right? So, Sirius told the public that he would read out every person's name, their organization, if applicable, and the position on the legislation. But unfortunately, our time will not allow for speakers to present to us. The Republican lawmaker then spent the next 7 minutes reading off the name. Oh, about time. And then you spend 7 minutes to read off all the speakers' names. Good God. The Republican lawmakers then spent the next 7 minutes reading off the names of each person who had signed up to either speak or waive their position. Jackson Oberlink, lobbyist for Florida Rising, a left-leaning social advocacy group, described the process to Orlando Weekly as a sham and that was built and designed for corporate interests. Bingo! Bingo! It is designed for corporate interests. Let me tell you something. Hell, it's so hot here. Even this coffee is hot. But look, guess what? My solidarity is stronger than me being able to stand this heat. So JB is gonna have to go through it. I'm just gonna have to get through this heat. But anyways, here's the thing about this. This is for corporate interests. Look at who the legislator is dominated by. The House and the Senate are dominated by Florida Republicans. Not to say that gives a pass to the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is still dog doo-doo when it comes to this state. But at the same time, just letting you know how the dynamics are. And then on top of it, we have Sir Fascist himself, Ron DeSantis, little Ronnie, the ones that puts lifts in his shoes. Yes, that's right. Ron DeSantis is short, and he is ashamed of it. Look, if you're a short king, own it. Anyway, so Ron DeSantis, short king himself, little Napoleon, decides to basically, be all gung-ho about corporate interests, right? So because of him and his corporate interests and the corporate interests that involve the Republican Party, they want to do bills like this. And I'm going to get to what my suspicions are in a second, because I do have some suspicions as to why they're doing this. Not just because they're, Cappy's going to cap, but, there's my other suspicions as well. And that's going to involve actually what the people actually want, because who cares about what the people actually think? But here's the thing. That's what they do. Let's continue on, because I'm going to start rambling. All right. So it says, ahead of cutting off public comment on the bill, the committee has already extended the meeting by half an hour. So wait. You can cut off public comment because we don't have enough time, but then you extend it by a half an hour? I'm telling you, they don't give a whooping font about you. I'm trying to cuss. They don't give a whooping font about you. This just shows they can extend the time for the meeting, but when it comes to actually hearing from the constituents, the voters, they're like, oh, but we can't do that. Even though it will literally affect the very lives of the people who are working. Good golly, Miss Molly. These people are sick in the head. Let's continue. So here's the crazy part. It says the panel of lawmakers has spent considerable amount of time discussing the potential benefits and ramifications of legislation limiting the minors' access to social media and porn websites. And the remaining meeting time was run short. So they were talking about social media and adult websites. That's what they were spending their time on. Now, I'm not saying that that's not important. That's important. But when it comes to the wages of workers, their concrete material conditions, that takes less precedent. Excuse me? You see, the moral issue would be, what good is talking about social media if you can't afford rent? What good is talking about kids' access to the internet if they can't even afford to eat? Like, that is secondary compared to what is actually of utmost importance. And the public comment reflects that. But they don't want to hear it from the public because they know the public is against it. Dear God, these people, oh, we need a revolution. Okay, It says Esposito, a freshman member of the Florida House elected in 2022, was given time to briefly explain her bill, which she framed as a measure that would protect good jobs and support businesses in such a way that would reduce the cost of living in cities where rent has skyrocketed in recent years. This is the point. Here's the thing. What good is it to lower the wages of workers when rent is going up? Because guess what, chicken butt? If we cannot afford our rent, what makes you think we'll be able to afford your small business? We won't be able to afford to go to your business. And in fact, if we can't afford to go to your small business, then guess what? Your business is going to close. That's exactly what's going to happen. And then guess who ends up working at Walmart? You. Yes, you, Mr. Business Owner. Because people, their wages are crap. And so then guess what? You lose your business, Walmart grows, and then you're stuck there working with me while getting EBT cards and SNAP benefits. Because you and I both don't get a living wage because your business closed and people who live around you do not have enough money to buy from your small business. Why? Because ultimately this is a boom for who? The big money interests. This is a boom for who? The capitalists. This is a big boom for the corporations. They love Florida. Oh, baby, they love Florida. They love it. You know, we don't have a state income tax here, right? This is one of the reasons why they come. They come here. No state income tax. No state income tax. That means more money in your pocket, right? But when it comes to actual workers, do they really care? No. They don't want they don't want to hear your voice. They don't want public comment. They don't want that. What do they want? Oh, they want the job creators to succeed. When they say job creators, that's just code word for big business. And these big businesses don't give a crap about you. We'll get into more of that when we start talking about the banks. But that's what it is. So don't want to spend too much time on this article. This article is actually really good. It's kind of a lengthy article. But I also have some thoughts about this. So I have my notes here. So here's my issue. Not only is this anti-democratic what they're doing in Tallahassee, but it's also deeply dangerous, as this would increase the homeless population, increase the crime rates, and cause more death in this state. Oh God, they're doing this on. Anywho, hopefully you guys don't hear that. But people won't be able to afford food, medications, healthcare, and utilities if their pay is being undercut. Public comments on this are necessary and needed to gauge how we feel. This is a way to undercut the ballot initiative that we passed in 2020 to raise our state minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2026. While that's not necessarily a big deal, because we all know that it is not a huge thing to be paid $15 an hour in this state. Hell, Universal Orlando, they just raised their rates to $17 an hour, right? Here's the problem. You need to make at least $32 an hour in the state of Florida in order to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. But what's the biggest issue is the language after the achievement of $15 an hour. Let me share this with you guys, because the language after we achieve $15 an hour by 2026 is what's scary to corporations. Remember, this was a ballot initiative that we passed in 2020. We said, as the people, not the politicians. We said we wanted $15 an hour, right? Remember, this is a red state, right? Led by Governor Ron DeSantis. And we said, $15 an hour or more. So here's the language that freaks out the corporations. Let me share this with you guys. Yeah. So let me enlarge this so you guys can see. Okay, so it says effective September 30th, 2023, the Florida minimum wage will be $12 an hour. We already established that, right? It says on November 3rd, 2020, Florida voters approved the constitutional amendment to gradually increase the state's minimum wage each year until reaching $15 per hour in September of 2026. On September 30th of 2023, which is last year, Florida's minimum wage will increase to $12 per hour. Each year thereafter, Florida's minimum wage will increase by $1 until the minimum wage reaches $15 per hour on September 30th of 2026. Here's the part that scares them. Resuming 2020 in 2027, the minimum wage will be adjusted annually for inflation. That's the part that's scary. Because if you're just paying $15 an hour, they can drag that out. That's fine. Because guess what? As cost of living goes up, if it sticks to $15, it's not really going to mean much, right? But that little piece, adjusting for inflation, that's like, oh no. Oh, we can't have that, right? The workers are like, all right, yeah, all right, adjusted for inflation, baby, let's go, right? Now, that could be open to interpretation for, what adjustments can be. But that's the point that I think a lot of businesses are really looking at. They're like, wait, adjusted for inflation, what does that mean for us, right? So this could be bad for corporations, but great for workers, because the minimum wage is adjusted for inflation could mean a living wage for us in the state. So to get around that, it seems that the Republicans in the state are trying to undercut laws set by municipalities to allow corporations and employers to lowball workers legally. This is why workers coming together is so important. Worker co-ops and unions can be a fail-safe for issues like this. Also, ballot initiatives for things like this to prevent lawmakers from undercutting workers can also be a benefit. This story is important so that you can keep an eye on your state legislator and what also may be on the ballot in November. Now, look, I'm not talking about a candidate. I'm talking about ballot initiatives. Look, in 2020, we passed a $15 an hour minimum wage, which, of course, goes up gradually. But that piece that says, and then be adjusted annually for inflation, we did that. Not the politicians. We did that. The people. Right? In 2018, remember what we did? We passed a ballot initiative that gave the rights of voting back to formerly incarcerated people. We did that, not the politicians. But what did the politicians do? Both Democrat and Republicans. They put a paywall so that if you were formerly incarcerated, now you got to pay all this money back to the state for being incarcerated before you can even vote. That's what they did. So pay attention to the ballot initiatives. If you don't vote for anybody, fine, cool, that's you. All right, cool. That's your right. But pay attention to the ballot initiatives that are going on in the state, because these are a direct way that you can go around the politicians, that you can go around the political parties and actually do something that the people really want. See, here's the thing. They don't really like ballot initiatives Because this means that this gives power to the people directly. This is direct democracy. This is what the Democrats and the Republicans don't like. So this is why it's important to pay attention to what they're going to be doing in November. What's going to be on the ballot. This is why it's important. Channels like, for instance, Savvy Savs, she talks about what's going to be upcoming in the ballot. When she gets to Florida, those of you who are Floridians, pay attention. Those of you in Wisconsin, pay attention. Those of you in Michigan, pay attention. California, pay attention. All of you and throughout the entire United States. I don't care if it's Hawaii, Georgia, Washington State, Wisconsin. I don't care. Pay attention. Keep an eye on those. Because we have to watch how they move. Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.